So we are live, life is happening, and I'm just pressing some buttons. Life is good. I'm assuming that you can all hear me, which is a delicious thing. There we go. There we go. Oh, it's beautiful. So now we are happy. Hello, my name is Helena.
And I'm Kelly.
And we are Speaker Insight, where we help speakers, authors, and coaches to build a business on your terms. And that's exactly what we were doing this weekend.
Well, we all were doing, weren't we?
Indeed,
Shiggy
all of
joined
us. So this weekend, we just came off the back of our Speaker Insight retreat, which is a definitely intensive look at businesses for speakers, authors, and coaches who join us in a very exclusive 2-to-1 sort of environment where you really get to look at your business, reshape it, and take the vision a little bit bigger. Because really, we're in the business of creating change makers, people who are sharing their message widely in order to make the world a better place to be in. So if you're one of those, do continue to play. We have a wonderful group called the Connection Hub, where the conversations around all of that take place. So Kelly's obviously
Links
just put
in the
the link in, which is good. For those of you who are joining us as a hashtag replay, do put hashtag replay. Even if it's months down the line, because here's the thing, these live trainings that we do are here and available for you so that when in your speaker, author, coach journey, you get to the point where you go, I need to know about audiobooks. You come and you watch this, and we love to know when that happens. And as you can see, we have Shiggy with us, who we are going to,
this is a test for me, right?
Oh, yeah.
Shiggy was on our retreat this weekend.
Good.
And one of the things that she taught me is actually how to pronounce her name properly. This is without all the apostrophes and everything else.
She hasn't been practicing this morning at all.
Ready? So this is Shiggy.
Almost.
Almost. Too much of a K, right? Too much of a K sound.
You hit that a bit much, yeah.
Shiggy. Yeah. Anyway,
so we're going to let you have your proper introduction in a moment. For now, what is the buzz in your business? So obviously the treat is part of the buzz in our business, that being the interesting, exciting, intriguing, and fun stuff that is happening that is keeping you absolutely excited about your business. So if you joined us, Brett, what are you up to? What's going on for you? What's the buzz in your business?
I know that he became a grandfather. I think it was last week or the week before when he was watching our live. So what's the buzz now, Brett?
Yeah, and of course we look at it holistically, so that definitely counts.
we running our Connect and Create Day next week on the 16th. We have had people asking us, is it still going ahead because of the dreaded coronavirus? We are going ahead. It's only 16 people. It's not a mass event. It's great for me because it gives me an excuse that I'm not allowed to hug anyone. So therefore,
now officially,
I'm happy.
I'm having to ask people if I can hug them, if they're all right with that. That's a bit weird and like an extra step in the process for me of saying hello.
But we have got a couple of places left because it is less populated this time. They've got 2 or 3 spaces left. So the link's there if you're free on Monday next week and want to come along.
And that's basically a space where you can come to work on your business, not in your business, and make some really good connections, whether that is indeed being a guest on a podcast or actively looking for partnerships and associates and that type of thing. There's always something magical that happens from the combination of people that are actually in our group. Yeah.
So big hi to Fiona, and Brett's just saying he's loving his podcast at the moment. He's just about to edit the one he did with Richard Barrett.
That will be delicious, whatever that is. And of course, we welcome any of those kind of links being put in here. We want to see what you're up to. Yeah, go shake the world kind of thing. So,
and I know last week,
this is the really exciting one for us.
It's been a week. We said, didn't we? Oh, we just need 10 more members, and obviously we've exceeded that. But we hit our 6,000 member and exceeded that in the Connection Hub. So 2 years, 6,000 members, all organic reach, no paid advertisement yet. And it's all because of you guys for being awesome in the group and referring people and adding loads of value to the members that are in there.
Yeah.
We're looking forward to the next milestone.
Yeah, we definitely are. So
what's your buzz, babe? What's going on in your world other than you just coming off of the retreat with us?
I was gonna say the buzz is, doing the retreat for me, because like what I do, I feel, because I think this is what every sound engineer kind of gets, is that I really do simple stuff and people all know it already and I don't really need to say anything. And I realized that couldn't be further from the truth. And I need to squawk loudly and tell people that, you know, hey, this stuff isn't that complicated. Yes, people are going to
Nice.
fret about the minutia, but essentially, like, you can get it done. And here's how you can do it. Because I literally just wrapped with a client I've been working with for about 6 months, where he was publishing a book every other month, which meant he was
Wow.
also publishing an audiobook every other month, which meant I was in my onesie at home, very, very, very furiously editing an audiobook in 10 days. So
Amazing.
So that
I'm not
shows
gonna,
what's possible, right?
Yeah.
it does. Like, I'm crazy. I have ADHD and I put my superpower into its little pocket. So I'm not gonna like tell people you can edit an audiobook in 10 days. But yeah, the buzz for me is just the fact that all of this stuff works and it matters and it's not that complicated when someone
Yeah.
shows you how.
Well, what's interesting is that, of course, this is what we say all the time, is that it's not that complicated because it's you and you have the experience that you have. And of course, every single person listening, you know, whatever Shiggy just said, what is probably true for every single one of you as well. We take what we do naturally and brilliantly for granted, and other people may not know it as much. So squawking about it is a really good thing.
Yeah.
So you know, we really want to just say to everybody, this is Shiggy, and she knows lots and lots and lots of things about audio, and she is an audio expert. But can you tell us a little bit, so that everybody knows and understands, just that little bit about you and how you got to this stage?
Ooh, okay, so completely unrelated. I did study at Brunel University as a sound engineer in 2004, 2005, and basically blagged my way into a job as a sound engineer for the university's nightclub and became an event supervisor. So little short second of audio work turned into events. So I worked in events for ages and ages and ages and kept the sound engineering just as a hobby. And I worked with bands. I worked with Chesley Hawkes, who is a one-trick pony. And, you know, kind of moved on to various places. But the main thing I kind of soared in was the event space. And I became a bouncer, or I got my badge, you know, not really a bouncer. And I became a manager at the London 2012 Olympics.
Yeah.
So literally this thing here got me into a lot of places very, very quickly. And the main thing that I kind of focused on was having all this technical information. I was working with the military of defense. You know, we had all this techno-babble jargon, and I had to be the friendly, happy, bubbly person that could direct a Chinese tourist or a Japanese tourist or an Indian tourist or anyone who couldn't speak English to where they needed to get to through
She's the
pointing.
perfect. Just your smile,
I
hun,
know.
would just be welcoming enough for anybody, right?
It worked. It worked. It definitely worked. So yeah, like kind of displaying confidence through physical body movement and, you know, kind of voice as well. That got me one way. Then eventually I moved into fitness. I became a personal fitness trainer, and my obsession with behavioral psychology kind of helped in that way. So I designed my own way of doing fitness, where the fitness is the last thing. I actually hate gyms. I find them horrible boxes of doom and just don't like them at all. So I taught people how to kind of do things a little bit differently. And as a result, I just ended up having executive clients who just didn't have time, and they were flying about all over the place. A lot of them aren't flying at the moment because of the coronavirus, which means they get me in their ear every day going, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? Yeah. So that kind of became a thing. And the audiobook business actually came into play because a friend of mine recorded his audiobook in Thailand, of all places, just randomly in his, you know, little rooms and everything. And he's like, I need this to be a book. Can anyone do it? And I went, yeah. Wait, is this a thing? Is this a thing?
What?
Well, this is it. So I spent, you know, December in 2018 just sat there editing, going, this is easy. This is really, why is this so easy? Did it, gave it to him, he published it, it went out, and that was done. He was like, do you want to make this a business? I went, yeah.
Okay.
That was literally it. Got 7 referrals in the first 3 months, and a skill set that I've had since 2004 that I've just always been tinkering around, you know,
Yeah.
all of a sudden has become something that I really love doing. I get to connect with fun people, and I get to show people how to have more confidence with talking. you know, which I didn't think would come into being anything, but the behavioral psychology, the security, the, you know, dealing with people that don't even speak English, all of those have meshed together into the two sides of my business, which is A, getting the technical side things out and getting you out there, but B, also understanding how you can master your voice. You know, his master's voice, her master's voice, but it's your own voice, just to get it out there so you can actually amplify whatever your message is as an expert. So
really great.
And we love that, because we know that, you know, and discovered that even more at the retreat at the weekend, that, you know, your purpose is to basically raise the frequency of people, their message, amp it up, get it out there to as many people as possible. And knowing that our avatar are speakers, authors and coaches, which really marries up to who gets drawn towards you. Can you sort of, like, for people that had never thought of not just audiobooks, but audio in general, because I know you are an audio expert all round and you do more than just audiobooks.
Yeah, we just happen to be talking about audiobooks because we find that actively people come to these trainings to get the one thing, but we know that, you know, you have a much wider range. So
just for people that are in that category, are either a speaker, author or coach, and they might not have considered audio before, why is it important for them now in this day and age? How is audio changed in this century, for example? Why, I think we put it on the post about how audiobooks are increasing by 25% every year. And I can't remember what the stat was about, how many billion was it in 2018 that were being sold. But why is it important for people to use audio to amplify their message? And what other ways can they use this as well as audiobooks?
Cool. So yeah, audio right now is the darling child. It's in the spotlight. Everyone's on it because it's a hands-free medium. So when someone's writing something, you need to interact with writing with your hands somehow, some way, shape or form, in your eyes. When someone's doing a video, same thing. You don't necessarily need your hands, but you certainly need your eyes for it. With audio, you don't need your hands or your eyes to access it. And sometimes you make your mind video with the things that people are saying. If they kind of describe things really well, you'll be there kind of creating the images that you need in your style in your head. So the stats are all there, and, you know, 75% of book sales usually come out of audiobooks now instead of books. And some people who do buy books will buy the audiobook as well. So
she listens to an audiobook every week when she's traveling here on a Tuesday. So it's like an hour-long journey. She goes through books.
It's a bonus. It's like a total bonus of working with you. I know.
So that's the thing. That's one of the spaces, is people driving in their cars, public transport, doing home chores, you know, washing dishes, cooking. If you're relaxing in the bath, right? We have these mobile speakers and our phones, and we just have audio so available to us now. A lot of people will opt to listen to an audiobook, will listen to whatever in the times that they're idling, but not idling.
Or multitasking.
Multitasking. So that's why it's so important.
I have to say, cooking for me is one of them.
Yeah, I do the same.
To any.
But this is the thing. So it's like, audio is not going to be for everyone, because everyone has a different learning process. People prefer writing. Some people prefer video. Some people prefer audio. You know, some people prefer physically actually doing something. And I know there's technical words around them, and I'm not going to go into that because that's a behavioral psychology like rabbit hole that I'd love to go in, but it's not relevant for now. So the simple version is that. And podcasts are huge. Podcasts are ginormous. And the interesting thing that I heard from a talk at Publishing Week last year is people who listen to podcasts are more likely to go straight to audiobooks of things than ebooks. So if you don't have your audio asset, an audiobook asset out there, someone who listens to your podcast, for example, isn't gonna, you know, they'll be like, oh, you've got a book, that's cool, but why are you dropping me out of my stream?
And then me first, and then you go, and then I'll go. And there are some people whose voices are just like velvet. So I know that Brett was saying that he just did a podcast with Richard Barrett, and I know Richard Barrett really well. Now, he feels to me like as soon as Richard Barrett starts talking, I feel like it's my granddad telling me a story. And I get there with a hot cup of cocoa and I'm like, yeah, I am there. I am listening. I'm all ears, right? And so if you've got the podcast, people then want the audiobook because they want that way of them explaining things, their tonality to come across, rather than them listening in their own head, right, and reading it that way. I think they actually want to be told the story.
Yeah, and in the voice of the person.
Yeah.
What I was actually going to say was, in terms of the continuation of, so, you know, we talk a lot about the formats in which you build your portfolio business, and that's what we're in. That's what we do. We help people build that portfolio business. But a lot of it is that the next logical step isn't just the next logical step, it's the next logical format. So if you've just done a checklist for somebody, the next thing that you do isn't going to be a 70-page book, because they highly likely want the next tiny shortest version of it. And so what you say about, you heard me on a podcast, now go and listen to the book, makes complete logical sense in that space as well.
And I know you've said this before, Hun, but you when you're saying about, do I need to have everything created before I start writing or recording the audiobook? Actually, some of your podcasts could become it. So I'm seeing audiobooks and podcasts going really hand in hand, whether it's a promotion from one, whether it's repurposing content from the other, but they nicely interlink and platform each other. Is that right?
They really do. And the thing, I mean, with audiobooks, it's still the Wild West out there, if I'm honest, you know, just kind of looking at the back end. I have my few favorites that I listen to. Stephen Fry is probably like my god. So far as I was
going to say, no, wait. Stephen Fry is God.
Yes. He's omnipresent. But you know, he is like he obviously is an actor and voiceover actor, and like what he's done, he's not exactly new to the rodeo, right? But if you ever want to touch into something that's kind of permanent and has a long-lasting effect, he is someone that I quite enjoy checking back into.
Beautiful.
Because like with podcasts, I find the idea when people are just like, I'm going to do 3 podcasts a week forever. I'm just like, why? Like, forever is a long time, you know, and you're human, and the things that happen in the span of forever, you're not a soothsayer, you can't see that. So you know, if people have a 6-month plan that leads up to a retreat, right, that's great. Or they have a 3-month plan leading to a launch, that's all great. And audiobooks work in that sense as well. They can be something that happens after a retreat or a workshop.
Nice.
You know,
so they fit into a user journey or a launch plan, or even a marketing funnel as such. And I don't think people see podcasts or ebooks in that way. Audiobooks, I think they see them as a finite product that is just, they have to keep on relaunching.
And for a lot of people, particularly the writers, bearing in mind that, you know, sort of people are self-identify as speakers, authors and coaches, we want to shift that and change that and make them a blend, you know. But a lot of people, if I self, it's I'm moving swiftly on. But you know, sort of it's this idea that as a writer, actually, I'm probably not thinking about audio in that way. I'm thinking about it as almost a parallel. Oh, it's a thing that people tell me I must have, rather than a built into the user journey active participation.
So maybe we talk about some of the myths.
So what the questions that we get asked, right? So, and this is some myth busting in your behalf, please. So one of the first things that people kind of ask us around creating the audiobook is, should I narrate my own book?
Yes. The short version is yes. The long version is, it depends on what your ultimate kind of long-term play is with your business. So if you have no interest in talking to another human being forever, right, then no, you don't need to write your own book. Like, you can get someone else to do it. It's very expensive. Every published hour for a voiceover artist is a minimum of about $255 per published hour. And some authors, voiceover artists work on a word count basis. So if your book has, you know, 50 to 80,000 words, which is more or less what our world kind of sits around, then you're looking at a lot of cash, a lot of cash. And that's before you get someone like me in.
And we know that people who have gone down the traditional publishing route, and in their contract there, it's saying that they want to have that as an audiobook. We've had authors who go back to their publisher and say, I am a speaker or whatever. I'm trained to be able to do this.
Yeah.
I want it to be my own voice because I am the brand. Give me the money in the advancement of the book that you'll be paying the voiceover artists. And we've had like Casper and Michelle and people like that who have done that, right? So it's a really nice point. That's not for the hybrid or self-published, but if you're traditionally published, you can voice out, you can do the narration of your own book and get paid the fee that they would have paid a
What's
person
not to love about that? Get paid to create a product. Woohoo, right?
But you're saying it's because they're creating that brand identity, they're creating that relationship, they should be the person. It's not like this is a book where they've gone under a pseudonym. They are their brand, and ideally if they've got a message like our audience has, we want you to be speaking, writing and coaching, so we want it to be you.
And the other thing I was going to say, so this is another myth busting that's related to the should I be the person narrating is, but what if I've got a heavy northern accent or
I'm a foreign, or we have that with Gabor a lot. He didn't do his own videos or didn't want to do his own videos because he didn't want his accent on them. We were like, your accent is beautiful,
it's gorgeous,
and it's we can understand you. It's not like I'm sitting there going, I don't know what word it was. That's part of your USP.
So I'm assuming that that's exactly what you would say to people too, right?
Absolutely. Like literally, if you just want to write books and you don't want, okay, Harry Potter, right? Fine. Most successful thing in ever so far as writing is concerned, right? And Stephen Fry narrates the audiobooks. Of course he does. But the author doesn't need to narrate that because she never really needs to be heard.
No,
She does. She goes out and talks. She's got a voice on Twitter, which is amazing and funny. But ultimately, you know, voice speaking isn't her forte. It's not what she needs to do. In our world, it is, right? Because even if you don't do keynote speaking or anything like that, if you're doing a webinar or a seminar or a workshop or a retreat, anywhere someone gets to interface with you, be it digitally or in person, if you give them that little data point way before, then they're like, ooh, I like the voice of you. I like the message. I like your passion. I like how everything feels, right? So audiobook or podcast, or I haven't said this yet, and I should say it later, but I'm going to say it now. Audiograms, right? Are visual representations of sound. So you get the subtitles, you get a little wiggly line, but you get the audio and you get a picture of yourself, right? So it's not a video.
Which you have on things like SoundCloud,
so SoundCloud would just be normal audio. So anything visual, you'd want it on Instagram, on Facebook, on LinkedIn. If you're on these places, Snapchat, TikTok, like anywhere like that, that is pro video, right? Any place that can have video, you can have an audiogram, basically. All right, so if you don't want to be seen, but you're cool with being heard, then an audiogram is literally the best thing you can do.
There are many people out there who are going, oh, thank goodness, what's this thing again? So if you want to talk more to Shiggy about audiograms, just reach out to her and like tag her.
But you also, because a lot of people go, now they understand it needs to be them. There are some people out here that might not be good speakers, but you help people because even for a speaker, narrating a book is another skill. It's a completely different skill, isn't it? You're using your voice, but the way you're using it and the length of time you're doing it for without an audience.
Sure.
So, but you help people with that, don't you, hon? You help people with their ability to speak an audiobook.
Yeah. So when it comes to speaking or narrating an audiobook, it's very different because it's just constant. You just flick page after page after page after page. And after a while, our brains start playing tricks on us, our ears start playing tricks on us, and our voice, like our actual muscles, vocal fatigue happens. So if you don't know how to talk properly, if you're talking through your voice and talking through your throat all the time, you're going to strain it a lot versus using the diaphragm. And there's a lot of vocal techniques that I start utilizing with authors. So if an author wanted to work with me and get them to narrate their own thing, they have to do a 5-minute narration of their book first, and it has to be 5 minutes, right? I sometimes do longer if we speak on the phone and I'm like, give me 15 minutes. Like some people who are professional stage speakers and stuff can kind of get through to 5 minutes no problem, right? But then if it's 15 minutes, all of a sudden these little things start playing, and then they don't pick up on their own errors. Because I have to, I encourage you to pick up on your own errors. You have to restart from the beginning of a sentence. I've just said beginning wrong, right? And I've gone through it because I know that's the thing, but I would have to pull myself up, go back up.
Or you hear your breakfast tummy rumbling or whatever it might be.
Even if nobody else did, but you get distracted by that in some way, right?
Exactly. So it changes all the timing. And I've only had to do this with one person so far, where we actually paused the audiobook creation, and I'm like, we're going to spend some time together. All right. And we're going to talk. There's going to be a microphone. I'm going to get you to stand up. I'm going to put a bucket over your head. And just like these are all techniques that I had, because I failed to mention this. I've been professionally trained as a vocalist. Granted, it was, in my early 20s when I was young and beautiful, but, intonation, vocalization, being able to project safely without straining your voice and everything. These are things that I've been taught, and I found I can teach quite well. And it's focused into the style of audiobooks. So that is something I do. It usually, depending on how much work we need to work together, I prefer working in person. We can do it over Zoom, but like you lose a lot. So in person, it usually takes about 3 weeks, 3 times a week.
Great.
And you have to listen back to yourself. I force you to listen back to yourself.
And we all, and this is one of Helena's lines about why we all hate our own voice. It's because
our voices inside our head don't sound like our voices outside our heads to everybody else because of bone conduction. So it is entirely different. Your voice is not your voice as you know it from outside. So when you hear yourself, it's not you. That's kind of how it goes. So let me take us a little bit further. Yeah, go for it.
Fiona's saying, I'm an audio virgin. What do I access these? What's the best app to use?
So what's the best app to use? Do you mean Fiona, do you mean for a podcast, hun? If you can just clarify, that would be amazing. And in the meanwhile, you can bust some myths whilst Fiona kind of comes back to us. So around the technicalities, because of course, the technicals are the thing that get our crowd a little bit stuck at times. So, do you need to be in a studio to create a high quality audio book? What's the deal around stuff like that?
If you can afford it, always do a studio. Like if you can afford an editor and a studio, always do it. But beyond that, you can do it at home. So the first thing you need is obviously a computer of some description. Second thing you need is a microphone. I am a fan of the Logitech Blue Yeti, which we both have. We're both twinsies. Mine just has a pop filter on it, but you can buy an additional pop filter, and there's an arm and everything. So computer, good, microphone. Next will be the software. Depending on how technological you want to be, the most basic and free is Audacity. The next one up would be Reaper, which is both Mac and PC available. So those two are both available on Mac and PC. Reaper's paid, sorry. Reaper, I think, is about 64 euros or 69 euros. And then either Audition via Adobe for a PC, and then GarageBand for Mac. I'm a heavy Mac user, so I am very biased in talking about that. But
I sit on the other side.
It's okay, we still love you.
On some days.
Truly, I can go off, people. I'll leave now.
No. That's the metal coming through.
Yeah.
So Fiona was saying about audiobooks and podcasts. So we've given some tech here for Yeti mic, Audacity, GarageBand. For Brett's got mic envy. With audiobooks, I think we're going to talk about this in a minute, aren't we?
Yeah, we are.
So what platforms would you say are the best? Do people need to be on? I don't know, whatever it might be, Audible, or Amazon,
Anchor,
or wherever.
Yeah.
So for audiobooks and for podcasts,
please.
All right, so I will squish the podcast first because that's really easy. Ideally, so with podcasting, the way it goes is you've got your file, you've got your MP3 file or whatever, and you need a platform for it to sit on. All right, and then from the platform, it gets syndicated out to various other places. So the little middle bit here, Anchor is the easiest for most people. Anchor does have some issues because it's recently been bought out by Spotify.
Yeah.
So as a result, a lot of the platforms that it does propagate your podcast to are now kind of stopping the access. So they're stopping the RSS feed from going out there. Last time I looked into it, I'm going to look into it next week, but it connects to Apple Podcasts, but Apple have changed a lot of their kind of infrastructure around recently. So whilst it does connect to Apple Podcasts, you can no longer create a backend profile on Apple Podcasts independently. So you lose really amazing and beautiful analytics on the back end of Apple Podcasts. Yes, you get analytics with Anchor, but they're not, you can't play with them. You can't, put them into a Facebook pixel or take them to your website, or you can't integrate them that well. So
access is limited. Yeah.
Yeah. And a friend of mine told me my personal podcast goes out on Anchor because it's just really easy, kind of, shoot from the hip type of thing. He told me that Podbean is no longer syndicating with
wow.
Anchor. So there's only 3 of my 18 episodes up on.
Oh my God, I didn't know that.
So I haven't checked it yet, but I'm going to check to see if that is an actual issue or if that's, something that has now since been stopped and I need to
teething troubles for transitions.
So instead of Anchor, what do you suggest?
I would say, take it old school and find something like Libsyn or Blueberry or any of the I prefer the older ones, not the newer ones. The older kind of podcasting platforms where you upload onto their servers. Yes, you have to pay. I think Libsyn's basic is something like £7 a month for X amount of megabytes, whatever. You don't need to freak out about that. Initially, you need to just set yourself up on that platform. And a nice thing about it is you can embed it into your website, which I think is way more important than, showing up in other places. The thing about podcasts is you can use an RSS feed. So there's this link, which looks like a URL, but it's actually a very special podcast link. And you can manually go into the other places. So Apple, Google, Stitcher, wherever else you want to go, and shove your RSS feed into your profile. So you still have
brilliant.
And of course, for those of you, so I'm just going to say, and breathe. For those of you who are going, oh my God, that sounds amazing, but it sounds really complex. That's why we have people like Shiggy, because of course, the thing that we say to you all the time is, you be a speaker, author, coach. You decide what you want to actually create as a user journey, as the product kind of thing that you want, and then get the help that you need. That's why we introduce you to amazing people, right?
So Brett's saying that he uses Captivate and he's really happy with it. Okay. And Fiona's saying, if you don't use Apple, is it still feasible to use from an Android? I think she's talking about Anchor there.
Yeah, of course. I don't have, so I've got Macs, but I refuse to have an Apple phone. I've got a Samsung S10. And
back in your world now.
loving you more, baby, loving you more.
So tell us, that's podcast. Tell the guys about the platforms for audiobooks.
Yes.
So audiobooks is again, I said it's a wild west, and it still is. So with audiobooks, you really want to have your book where your audience is. Right. There's no point in going on what you like. I like really obscure little platforms that no one's heard of, but like there's no point being there because there's no listenership.
Nobody watching.
Yeah, completely.
No, it's going to be on there. So Audible is owned by Amazon, right? And the back end of Audible is a place called ACX.
Yes.
Right? So you go into ACX and then you create your little author profile, you find your book and it links that together, and then you can do your audio thing to come up on Audible. So I would say that's the biggest platform at the moment. There's a few others. Kobo is another one. And it's the same thing again. You log in, create your profile, and then you can kind of set your audiobook up and do distribution. On there, they're a little bit nicer when it comes to fees and everything, because distribution rights and all that jazz kind of gets a little bit hairy with Amazon so far as user rights and everything. But that's for another video because it gets but I would say wherever your user listener base is, and I think for 95% of you guys, it's going to be Audible. So acx.com is where you go, create your profile as an author. And then ideally you need to have your ebook up. It doesn't need to be a published book, but an ebook version needs to be available for them to link it up so it appears on Amazon and Audible.
Nice. That's a good tip.
Yeah, and of course that's an increase anyway in revenue. You know, so again, someone like me, well, usually do here's the ebook. Would you like the Audible kind of extra for an extra £3, £4? You know, and it works. You know, it's amazing.
Just a question on that, Han. What is the average price of an audiobook?
So the way Audible, in their infinite wisdom, has kind of set up your audiobook is, depending on how long it is, they will price it accordingly.
Okay.
So it's on a per hour. So what? So a book like, so this is like someone had 101, I do that. They had like 101 meditations for various aspects of your life kind of thing. And this is
bedroom success.
I know, Rebecca.
There you go. So yeah, so we're working together right now, and it's a great book, but it's an idea for writers. If you have 100 points on something specific, you can make it a book, right? And I'm treating this a little bit differently because it's a meditation book. So I'm doing a lot of audio, kind of putting some music behind it and turning it more into an experience, which is why audio is so great. You can turn it into something a bit special for your listeners. But that book will probably sit around maybe the £8 mark. Yeah. And there's another book that I did, which was very dense on angel investing. And that book sells for £16. Yeah. All right. And just because that is every single page is just words, words, 300 pages of words, pure words. Yeah. So you don't really get to kind of manage how much or how little the book is. You do get the opportunity to get the book out to people for free or for a discount. Yeah. And that goes into the marketing side of things, which I'm aware of, but it's not my focus. Where you can use it as a promotional tool. To get your 5 stars, to get your reviews in, to kind of push up the
we have a Facebook Live called How to Get Your Book a Bestseller.
That's right.
And that's in there.
There you go. Nice little segue. And it will be the same for audio. Honestly, it will be the same for audiobooks because it's on the same platform of Amazon.
And so the question that's obviously burning for everyone is that, okay, you've sort of hinted at it right there, so we know that side of things. How long does it take me to actually record and get my audiobook done? And
maybe edit it from your end as well, like the whole process.
Creating that experience, which I really love, by the way, so I'm highlighting that here. I'm completely loving the idea that as you go into producing your audiobook, you are not producing a book at all. You're creating an experience for people.
Absolutely.
Love that, right?
Yeah. So from start to finish, let's say your book is, let's see, a verbose condensed one. How many pages is that? Okay, so 250-page book, right? I'm only saying that because this is someone else I've worked with her, but we actually were in the studio, so I can give you an actual timeline. She's a speaker, right? So an actual professional speaker, so I didn't have to correct her that much. That's really, really important. Retakes. So minimal retakes. So she just read the book. That was done in 15, 16 hours. So recording your book.
That's quite good.
Yeah, she was a machine. So if you're machine side, you're looking at about 16 hours for a 250-page book. Less of a machine, you could be looking up to anywhere of up to about 40 hours.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. If you're recording it at home in your time, you're gonna have life get in the way. So that's an issue. And I've said this to people, like when you want to do your audiobook, you have to prioritize it and chunk it and put it in your schedule. And it's more important than a lot of other things, because if you don't prioritize it like that, it will start dwindling and fall into obscurity. And then the setup that you had will be taken by, your kids or a new project or something, and it will never get finished. So
but there are people that you've done, because I remember when we were talking about with you a few months back, where people have done it in their bedroom and you've given them like cardboard boxes and things like that to make it more the sound more insular.
Yeah, so she was amazing. So Leah, she lives in the US and she doesn't have a permanent home. She's actually got an RV.
Yeah.
Right. So that she literally lives in her truck and she goes around and that's her life. Right. So she hasn't got a permanent place. So I told her, if you've got a bathroom, I can show you how to set it up in the bathroom. So she made a blanket fort in the bathroom with 2 chairs, right? 2 fleece blankets. It is. But the thing is, the space in there. So the acoustics in the bathroom are good. It's very echoey. But if you dampen a space within a bathroom, it's perfect. Because you get that reverb that gives you the space in there, but then it's also protected. So, the voice comes through clearly. And she actually used a snowball. I don't like Yeti snowballs, but she did what I told her to do. There's also this distance thing. So with your hand, this is how far you can be away from a microphone, right?
Wait. So the microphone should be at the end of your little finger. You've got
so if I do that.
She really does. I think that's the weekend.
So it's either, so this is kind of as far away as is good, to kind of get good audio. Ideally, you want to be a fist away.
Oh, wow.
Right.
ideally with this
That's
microphone.
interesting.
Yeah. So with this microphone specifically, and the setting that you have on the back. So there's it's either like that or like that. You want it to be on that setting.
Yeah.
And then you want to be a fist away from there.
Hold
So
on.
that's the front.
Oh no, hang on.
Other side, the back.
There we go.
So on the bottom bit, there you go. So you're on the second to middle setting. So the front one, the first one, is the figure 8. It's the number 8 setting, which is the ideal setting for
this one.
people. Yeah. Don't change it now, but like.
No, I won't. I definitely won't.
Cool.
So yeah, so the number 8 figure on a blue Yeti is the best one for audiobooks, because anything on the side doesn't get picked up. So it's literally just here. So so I got her. She did a blanket fortress in the bathroom with a snowball and her laptop, and she wasn't allowed to use a clicky mouse. She had to use the trackpad because that's another thing that gets picked up. Oh, also no books. When you're recording your audiobook, no paper books. Has to be an iPad or a laptop.
Oh, because
So
you're here, there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also when you're switching pages between a sentence, right? You're going to go here and then finish the sentence when you that doesn't work. So with an infinite scroll,
right?
infinite scroll is important. So we did the fortress in the bedroom, in the bathroom, and then in a wardrobe, I got her to stuff all the pillows from her hotel room and get a few extras into the wardrobe, get rid of all the coat hangers, put the duvet at top, same thing, right? Little microphone, everything in there. And it sounds great. Like you will have, like, you literally will not know that she was in a blanket fortress and a little pillow fort in a wardrobe to record.
See, this is making me think of the voiceover I did for my friend's YouTube video, where I literally sat inside a cardboard box doing it with a torch.
Yep. So these are the things. I can
read what I was doing.
These are the hacks that you have. Like, even with the microphone itself, if there's too much going on in the back, just get a recycle tub, right? Plastic recycle tub. Put some foam in it and some egg cartons, right? Egg cartons of foam. Shove it in there. Put the microphone in there, and that again changes the audio. So there's all these hacks that I have. Very much a DIY fan.
Amazing. So as well as these hacks, Han, what? Because I'm completely aware that we're like 40 minutes in.
And as you can hear, we could go on for ages. But for those of you who are serious about it, just get in touch with Shiggy, and she'll just keep on going, right?
But what would you say for people here who maybe had not thought of audio beforehand, and they're thinking, okay, now I understand. They might have, like, say for example, when Brett's got a podcast, and they might be going, okay, now I can see the link between podcasts and audiobooks. What are the top tips that you give people who are thinking of starting an audiobook so they don't make the common mistakes, or so that they're doing it the best way, the first way?
Yeah.
So the first one I have, because so many authors have said this to me last year, is my advice is when your book is in editing, right? When it's in the final stage of editing, get your audiobook recorded at the same time, please. Right. Because I've had authors who have published a book maybe 8-9 months right before, and then they come and do the audiobook and they hate their book, right? They hate the way it sounds. They hate talking because the way they've edited it is designed purely for reading, and it's very throwaway. When you're reading, you know, you're reading and then you're building concepts as you read, right? But when it's audio, the concepts are coming as the words are being formed. So your choice of words when you speak versus your choice of words when you write are going to be different, and that's fine.
But also, so I didn't really have this awareness until you just said this. The audiobook can be slightly different then to the, sometimes when you're having, you know, even a hybrid publisher, they will take chapters out maybe, or they'll edit it quite heavily. But you're saying actually the audiobook could be the raw version, the truest version of when you were doing it before it was edited to be read rather than spoken. But they could be two different things, and they don't have to be exactly the same word for word.
Exactly. The only time it would need to is if you wanted to enable whisper sync in Amazon. So Amazon.
What the heck is that?
That was actually where I was just about to go. So interestingly enough, I absolutely know this. So we'll explain. So I have had this experience because I am actually a listen along when I read. If there's something I really want to do quite a lot, then I'm a listen along. And Whisper Sync basically allows, well, you explain what Whisper Sync is and I'll tell my experience.
So Whisper Sync is technology that Amazon has developed so far as you read along and listen along to someone's book. So if someone has narrated their book verbatim, then WhisperSync will follow along in the book, the ebook, and it will highlight the words and it will go along with it. So for people,
Oh my God, do you remember when you were at school, like the
Yeah,
bouncing
yeah,
ball?
yeah.
exactly.
That's exactly,
So
that's
it's
exactly it.
call it karaoke subtitles, right? So it's constant karaoke subtitles of
Yeah.
your book with audio behind it.
Yeah.
And some people, I do that if I've got if there's a book that I want to read that's very technical and I want to
Right.
kind of think and see at the same time.
Right, okay.
So
I
that's
never
the
knew
only
that.
time. If you don't do your book verbatim, then you will break WhisperSync and Amazon will not
Okay.
give you the option. So that's really down to if you want to make an experience where it's just lively and musically and fun, or if you want to kind of give people really good quality information, which is still an experience, but you still need to kind of
Different
be a little bit more
experience,
loyal
yeah.
to your.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. So I actually look for that now. So what I was going to say about that is that I actually look for that now in terms of, is the book WhisperSync ready or not? And that does influence my purchase of something or not, or my debate around, do I want it or not? Simply because if I know it's a very technically dense thing, I kind of want to be able to turn on WhisperSync so I can hear it as well as read it. And at the same time, if I know that an audiobook is read by the narrator and I've done the little sample piece and I've gone, yeah, I really like their voice, then I just go with it anyway.
Yeah, exactly. So, so with the audiobook, with people thinking about publishing it, if you've got a book already, try and do the audiobook as soon as you can to the published date of the ebook or the physical version. If you're trying to go audio first, I would still look at it as a way of writing a book. So still use flashcards, still use everything that is necessary for writing a quick book. If you're going to do the route of taking your articles and turning that into a book, which is perfectly fine, again, put it together and start like looking at it from a audio angle, as opposed to just putting it together going, yeah, that'll work, and then when you're halfway through narrating, you're like, oh wait, no, I was having a bad day on this article, this really doesn't work, because all the words are really angry versus nice and bubbly and fun. Be your own editor. So that's my advice there. And I'd definitely say start recording your own articles already, and you can create in your blog post, have an audio version in your blog post. And this is where SoundCloud comes in, because it's free to a certain amount, and you can actually embed SoundCloud into your blog posts. So have audio versions of your blog posts to kind of warm people up to the idea of
It's really interesting that you say that, because I've actually begun. So one of the other things, if I'm not listening to a book, then I'm usually speaking a blog into my recorder in some way. And the bit I was actively going to say was, and again, I'm going to highlight what I said earlier. We think that speakers, authors, and coaches in today's day and age need to build portfolio businesses, i.e. you don't just identify as a speaker, you don't just identify as an author or a writer, you don't just identify as a coach or a teacher or a trainer in some way. You need to be blending all of those. And so way back at the beginning of this interview, when Shiggy was saying about the vocal confidence that you actually have, you starting to speak what you write actually starts to engage and develop your vocal cords, and because it is an instrument at the end of the day, and we've got plenty of people inside the Connection Hub who work with that thing as well as you do. And so there's something here about getting used to the sound of your own voice, getting over those barriers that you've been talking about around getting over your own voice, and just being prepared to do what it takes to get your message out there in this way is really important.
And Brett's asking the question, which I think the answer is no, but he's saying, could you use WhisperSync for your podcast? But I think it's an Audible tool, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
WhisperSync is a proprietary product from Amazon.
Amazon, yeah, okay, perfect. So it's
which is good. So I'm aware that you have all probably eaten your lunch / dinner whenever you're listening to us in all sorts of ways. You could probably listen for ages longer, because Shiggy is just a mine of information. But in order to help them get in touch with you, what is the best way that they can do that, Shiggy?
So best way, I'd say, because Facebook is a little bit weird if we're not friends. We can be friends. I have no issue. LinkedIn. LinkedIn is good. So Shiggi Pakter is me. I'm on LinkedIn. Send me a message on there. Let's connect on there. That's usually the best way. Facebook, again, Shiggi Pakter, or I think Shiggimus. Facebook's really informal for me. I just do a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So I'm on there. And then email. So my website is audiofy.me, so audiofy me. From my website, you can go to contact@audiofy.me and just ping me a message. You can literally ask me any question. There's no such thing as a stupid question. I like questions because I have too much in my head and I don't know what to share. So help me, help you, ask me a question. Literally just ask me about anything and I'll be more than happy to help. So
it's brilliant. We've put those links in the comments for people to go straight to your website, your LinkedIn and stuff like that, so they can find you easily. But you're in the Connection Hub as well, you're in our directory, so all those good stuff where people can find you.
And if you've still got questions, and I suspect that most people are now like, oh, hang on, what about this? What about this? What about this? Put them in this thread and like tag Shiggy, myself, Kelly, and just, you know, keep on going, because what we wanted to do was expand your understanding around why an audiobook might be the thing to do, or why using the wider arena of audio is a good thing to do. And we hope we've done that. And thank you.
You're awesome.
Wonderful.
Yeah. We look forward to seeing more of you in the hub and more of what you've got, because we know there are good things coming.
Yes,
I'm heading in here. But
have a good week, everyone.
that was like a spoiler.
See you later. Take care. Thank you.
Bye.